Hi, I'm Raven, and this is the 10 Art Styles Challenge Filipino Artist Edition. I'm sure everybody already knows what an art style challenge is, but if you don't, it's basically a challenge where artists try to imitate the methods of painting of other artists. It is a fun task to study different modes of illustration, pay homage to others, and just imagine what a character can look like if another artist drew them. In this one, I'll be focusing on Filipino artists I follow online. One of these 10 will of course be my style. I'll be drawing my character Frederick in my style, plus 9 others, doing my best to imitate everything I like about each artist and the look of their work. Now, because I am doing an art style challenge in the year of 2023, I feel kind of obliged to make certain disclaimers. This is a long one, but it's very important, so listen up. With AI imitating art styles of online artists, it is important to highlight the difference between that and videos like this. I want to remind everyone that mimicry in an art style challenge does not happen frequently enough to dilute or cause harm to the branding of people being imitated. It is done for fun, every once in a while as a challenge to test our skills, never as a way to replace these artists or take away opportunities from them. It is a love letter to them, not an eviction notice. Me copying the style of Steven Universe once in a video does not pose harm to the employment of animators in Cal Arts. On the other hand, AI is taking away opportunities from artists by allowing everybody to generate infinite amounts of images in their likeness without payment or credit for their work. Artists taking inspiration from existing art is not equitable to a machine memorizing an image pixel by pixel and repeating that process 5 billion times. Comparing those two is like saying that chopping down one tree is the same as decimating an entire forest. Scale matters, and the limited scale at which the human artistic inspiration operates allows for a fair chance for many people to succeed at the same time, rather than the monopolized future AI companies want from art. Okay, is that clear enough for you? If not, I don't know what to say to you. So anyways, what you're watching right now is my art style. I would describe my style as a balancing act between hard edges and soft transitions. I take heavy inspiration from realism, painterly styles like Cynic's design and Marco Bucci, as well as colorful ones like Ilya Kovshinov and Loish. Interestingly enough, even though my style is the most realistic in terms of proportion out of the bunch, it is also the most colorful. You'll see that later once I show them side by side. The thing about an art style is that some parts of it are unintentional and are only noticeable to people other than the artist. People have said some very interesting things about me in my art, and I've never really noticed them before, and I think that's really cool. So, how would you describe my style? I'm genuinely curious to know what you guys would say about mine. And yeah, here it is, my art style. By the way, all the artists' social media will be the first set of links in the description below, so give them a follow and show them some love. Now for the fun part. The first artist I'll be featuring is Giaseeds. Gia is a Filipino artist based in the US. Her style involves the use of soft colors, heavy pencil textures, and flowy shapes. I would describe her style as one that is very reminiscent of the old Disney aesthetic, a version of it with a modern twist, if you will. She does a lot of princesses, and from what I know, doesn't really do a lot of masculine presenting characters. That's really not a problem, but it can be a bit of a hurdle for me cause Frederick has short hair. I did have references for bangs though. From there, I just made up shapes I thought would match the aesthetic and copied the bangs. Another debacle with using Frederick for this challenge is the color palette. If you know me, you would know that I am obsessed with color. And the thing that bugs me just a little bit when I watch other people do this challenge is they don't pay much attention to color. Color is a major factor in my preference of art styles, and I really don't want to only color pick for my original painting and call it a day. Artists use color very differently, and I want that to reflect the results of this challenge. I think I did a pretty good job though, especially with Gia's style. For her, I just made sure to keep everything warm, dim, and ever so slightly muted. She also does this thing at the end of her process where she adds areas of saturated colors to mostly the silhouette of the subject. And I just love the extra hint of color this adds to everything without making it look like too much, you know? This, for some reason, came to me a lot more naturally compared to the other styles. Maybe it's because I've been observing her work for a while now, I don't know. I also think it helps that she has a YouTube channel where she shares her painting process. Go check out her videos and show her some love, she's super talented and kind. Plus, her videos are super relaxing. Gia, if you're watching, I think that your art is genuinely beautiful. Next is Patrick Gañas. Oh my goodness. I'll be honest and say that this is the one that I'm most afraid to copy, and I did it pretty early on to get it over quick. His style is just so difficult to copy. I consider him as the king of shapes. The amount of movement he's able to convey with his work using appealing shapes is insane. Unlike my style that favors roundness, his features a lot more angularity and has a very recognizable flow to it. To achieve that look, I used the selection tool and picked very angular shapes to convey form. Although his recent posts had a little bit more airbrushing, I decided to follow some older works I was familiar with and keep the airbrushing to a minimum. He uses less saturated colors than me and his shape choices are just impeccable. I love how he features Filipino folklore into his work. Those ideas combined with his amazing skill creates a style truly like no other. I honestly don't think I did his style justice, but I feel proud of myself for just trying. I liquefied a lot to fix errors. I guess another thing to keep in mind when going for a style similar to this is to learn anatomy and to exaggerate a lot. I struggled quite a bit and I think it's a sign for me to brush up on my anatomy knowledge. I've made Frederick a bit more mature than what he looks like and a bit scarier than what he typically is. Wear sun protection, people. Anyways, here's the final result. Not amazing, but also not bad, hopefully. Patrick, if you're watching, I've always loved your work. Please notice me. Haranikala is an interesting one. Her style is very moody and very popular. It contains striking elements of old comic book styles blended with a Ghibli aesthetic. Her use of work is a big part of why I like her paintings. It's warm, a bit retro, and very emotive. The greens she uses tend to be more deep, foresty shades, so I opted for that when coloring Fred's skin. I see her work get reposted a lot on Facebook, sometimes without proper credit, and I honestly feel kind of bad. Please, if you do that, credit the artist properly. Anyways, like I said, her work is very comic adjacent and I could definitely see her do a full-on comic someday. I would love to see that. When painting, I really had to trust the process with this one, and it only really started to resemble her work sort of once I added the black line art. I was a bit worried about the hair though. Because I wanted to imitate the scratchy black lines and the organic feel of how she draws hair, I was worried it wouldn't look blonde. But I think it reads quite clearly as a light hair color in the end, so that's good. This way of shading hair is kind of wild. The scribbly nature of this part felt kind of wrong to do because it's one of those things that artists always tell you to never do, but of course for her style it clearly works. I don't think I fully nailed that look, but I really love the way she does it, so yeah. It just goes to show that in the right context, unconventional techniques in painting can still look really good if used with the right understanding and the right intention. I also added stars as freckles because I saw her add stars to a portrait once and I thought it looked really cute. I also painted a bit of a background and added a lot of grain to really push that retro comic look. Paired with some text and fun shapes, her art is nothing short of being likable. Here's my interpretation of Fred in Hera's style. What do you think? Hera, I really hope I at least did okay at capturing the vibe of your gorgeous work. Now we're going back to the more realistic side of the art spectrum. The next artist is Nekokonut. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but okay. Neko has a very shaded anime-ish style with lots of warm colors and queer content. We love to see it. I found out about his work when I saw his painting of two students eating in a hamburger stall. I just thought it was so cute seeing a beautiful snapshot of a familiar scene. I'm sure many Filipino students can relate to that collective memory of going to an Angel's Burger after a long day at school. Anyways, back to his style. Neko's style contains a lot of nods to realistic anatomy. He really simplifies his shadow shapes a lot to get a minimal interpretation of real forms in the human body. In my opinion, studying his work is a great way to learn form and structure if you still like the anime style. And I just want to add, another thing that I like about him is the way he uses his work to speak up about social issues. Many artists would much rather keep politics and trivial topics out of their work, but he bravely uses his art to take bold stances on important conversations, and I think we should do that a lot more as a community. It was definitely fun to see Frederick in anime/anime adjacent styles. I gave him a winky pose with lots of warm blush. Like all artists in this list, Neko's style changes. It is not the same all the time, and it evolves. I referenced both new and older works of his and came up with a mashup of sorts to create a look that I want. He had a painting where the character had this minimal freckled pattern, and I just wanted to include it to this painting with Fred. I also really love the way he paints hair, and I definitely think I could have done a bit of a better job at imitating that look, but I still like the end result, so whatever. This was really fun to make. Neko, I adore your work so much. Never stop being awesome. I feel like RuPaul eliminating queens. Moving on. RGnomoto is the artist who I'm the least familiar with in this list. I found his account a week ago while trying to pick artists for this video and I instantly fell in love with his style. I've seen him mention Adventure Time as an inspiration for this style and I think he incorporates elements of the show to his work beautifully. He showcases form and blockiness in his work and that's typically not what you see from cartoony styles like this. I adore his shading and coloring. It has a very warm glow to it and just adds life, especially to parts such as the skin. This was the first time I really tried using the stabilizer for Krita and I must say, although there was a bit of a learning curve, it saved me a lot of heartache and time getting clean line work for this style. Looking back though, I wish I made the line work a little bit more organic, seeing as his line art isn't as rigid and clean as this one that I did. I feel like the life it usually has was lost just a little bit with my interpretation of his style, but I still like what I made regardless. I've never drawn this rubber hose style limb and I think it's kind of fun, not gonna lie. Also, I think he deserves accolades for that username alone. I love it. He recently followed me back on Insta and I was kinda shocked. RJ, if you're watching, I wanna let you know that you have a beautiful style. I wish only the best for you. Now, sashay away. Moving on, we now have Keds Art. Out of all the artists in here, I think he's the only one who's not on Instagram. I could be wrong, correct me if I am. I found his work a while back on Facebook. I would describe the art he posts as comics for the Filipino netizens. Although he does a lot of English comics as well, a lot of his is in Tagalog, covering topics of the everyday Filipino's life, social problems, and comedy. I love his style. It's another one where I had to use the stabilizer quite a bit. His work is very clean with tasteful use of color and a lot of expressiveness to it. I think it's kind of perfect for webcomics. I just added a speech bubble cause comics, duh. It says Kumusta, which means how are you? I know, original. The post I found his work from is the comic on the lower right. It's basically about the toxic culture of reposting art on the internet and how hurtful it can become for artists. It's very prevalent on Facebook, unfortunately, and I definitely feel for artists who have gone through the same thing. Fun fact about Keds Art, he just recently passed the board exam for civil engineering. As a fellow artist who also happens to be in engineering, I applaud him so much. Engineering is not easy and to have that achievement as well as to be a talented artist is extremely impressive. Congratulations and keep up the amazing work. Next, Myrthena is another one that I love. Her style is another one that reminds me of the old Disney aesthetic. Only this time there is a lot less density to the line work and a lot less use of saturated colors. She also does brightly colored pieces, but I settled for her warm and muted style. I wanted to add as much variety as possible with the styles, and I think her style definitely filled a needed gap in my initial list of artists. Her work is almost watercolor-esque with deep shades and a traditional feel to it. I love the way she draws hands. It's honestly kind of similar to the way I draw them, although this attempt at a hand was not super successful. That's besides the point. I give him this sassy judgy pose. All I could think of when painting this was that meme of Laverne saying, "Girl." That's kind of the vibe that I was going for this one. This style is definitely more maximal in a way compared to the others I did, so I was able to incorporate the original color palette to Fred's arms with the light underside and the green top. Myrthena's style is just so aesthetically pleasing in my opinion. I would describe it as warm, organic, and cozy. This was really fun to draw in color. I also saw her add a speech bubble to one of her paintings and I just had to add one to this challenge. Anyways, here's the final image. What do you think? Myrthena, you are an amazing illustrator. I cannot wait for your upcoming webtoon. Moving on, Karvik is next in the list. He is one I've been observing for quite a while now. That sounded very creepy. I've seen parts of his webtoon series Sari Sari Story circulating all throughout Facebook and TikTok when I was still in high school, and it made me curious to read and keep up with the actual comics in webtoon. I love that comic so much, by the way. It's done in a very cute and minimal style. It's relatively bright in coloring style with minimal backgrounds. I noticed he only does white shapes for the mouths of characters in that webtoon, but he does some deep red shades for the characters outside that story, so I had to make a bit of a choice to pick which one I'll settle with. I ended up choosing the style from the webtoon as it just worked better for Frederick in my opinion. I don't really know what his specific inspos are with his style, but it also kind of reminds me of Adventure Time. It's a very minimal and clean take on the cutesy comic style. That, juxtaposed with lots of dirty jokes, makes it a very interesting and fun comic to read, in spite of its very short nature. I read the Tagalog version, but there is an English version international readers can subscribe to in Webtoon. It's definitely interesting seeing him translate the jokes and punchlines to another language and still have them work out. And while researching him, I also found out he did the animation for the intro of the second season of Drag Race Philippines. That is a crossover I never expected. Needless to say, he appears to be an avid contributor to Filipino queer media. Karvik, you are just amazing. The last artist we'll be featuring for this video is another talented Patrick. And it is Patrick Ballesteros. Patrick's style is so cute and animated. It almost reminds me of the Peanuts style. It is another one that has a very traditional feel to it with very distinct texturing. It features a lot of round-shaped language, cute proportions to the characters, and very expressive posing. Like, his illustrations just give me so much joy when I look at them. Like, how can you not smile looking at these paintings? In my opinion, his work would be perfect for children's books, and who knows, he might have already released one or a few. He's an artist who just recently came in my radar, so excuse me if I don't know much about him yet. What I do know though is that he is one with lots of experience. This style is very deceiving. Its simplicity made me think it would be an easy one to do, but no. This attempt definitely felt a bit less successful compared to my others in the video. I feel like there is a certain level of skill necessary to convey clear emotions in very stylized work like this, and I don't think I have that experience yet. Nonetheless, I still think Fred looks cute in this style. I give him a raised hand pose. It's probably him in school raising a hand to answer the teacher's question. I did my best to imitate the traditional textures that are present in Patrick's work. I tried to make it look like markers, kind of, with pencil and pens on paper. And this is the final look. Patrick, your style is amazing, and I hope to one day become as great as you are at drawing characters. And here we are. As promised earlier, here is the photo of all the styles featured with each other. Not gonna lie, it looks kinda beautiful. I'm planning on making this a mini-series, by the way. I won't be doing it frequently cause, my goodness, was this difficult to make. It took so long. But I'm definitely down for another round with more Filipino artists and/or international ones. What do you guys think? Should I do more? And if so, tell me which artist to do next. Thank you for watching and have a great day.